Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bakertron, and I am here to bring you a 2v2, hopefully, game of Homeworld. I say hopefully because sometimes the problem with doing 2v2s is that if the person who did the recording doesn't stay in for the entire game, then you don't get to see the ending, which has happened several times to me so far. But I think we will be able to get to the end with this one. Hopefully, and hopefully it will be something slightly different from our usual 1v1 fairly standard type thing. Anyway, today we have sort of, I'm not quite sure, grey, blue, green-ish, I'm terrible with colours, player. Down here is ChuckWillbury, who I'm 90% sure I've casted once already. And his ally over here is, I believe this is FleetofDeath as the green Higaran, and hopefully that'll be a bit easier to see the green on that one. Anyway, his opponents, as you may have already seen in the bit down here, this purple guy is Blasta 2, and his ally, by a process of elimination, must be Triumph 96, and we can just see him taking care of a quick probe there. So yes, a 4v4, a 2v2 on the map Talus Crossroads, which is one of the more common 2v2 maps. It's a little two-dimensional for my liking, but it's well, hopefully it'll still be fun. Anyway, we can see, let's see if we can get a better view of these two scouts dying horribly. No, I think that was far too rapid. Anyway, so let's talk about what players are going for. The purple player, who is Blasta, we can see he's already produced one extra research strip, and I can tell from my notes he's going to go for, well, he's already researching capital ship drives at the moment. His ally, which is Triumph 98, is mostly sticking to Strikecraft. Let's see if he has built any extra research ships. I think he has. Let's see if we can get a bit closer. Yes, so he's built one extra one as well, and he's going for, fighter chassis, that sort of thing. ChuckWillbury, as you can probably see, has also gone for fighters. He's got interceptors out, he's got a lot of scouts out, a lot of light corvettes. But his ally, the green player FleetofDeath, has gone for capital ship drive and will be moving to capital ship chassis soon. And he has actually produced a lot more research ships. You can see he's, to be honest, he's got almost no fleet whatsoever. He might have docked some of his ships in the mothership itself, but at the moment he's not looking too safe. There's a probe right here. I can see this, so it wouldn't surprise me if these ships decide to move in and try to get some early damage off. So at the moment, Fleet of Doom doesn't actually have any fleet whatsoever. But ChuckWillbury is making a play for this resource patch here, and so it looks like with any luck this fight is going to kick off soon. There's assault bombers here. This is Triumph versus ChuckWillbury. I don't think the assault bombers are going to be that useful unless they go straight for these resource ships, because otherwise ChuckWillbury's ships are just Strikecraft. But we'll have to wait and see. Chuck will be coming in. He doesn't have any support frigates, which is often not that, which is not going to be. Let me try this one more time. This is English, this is what I speak. I should be able to manage it. ChuckWillbury's lack of support frigates are going to mean his light corvettes can get taken out quite easily, especially by kamikaze attacks. But as we can see, he sent out his scouts, or he sent in his scouts in first. So it doesn't look like they're taking too much damage. In fact, he hasn't lost any light corvettes. His scouts staying, I think he's lost I don't know. I can't. He might not have lost anything, or at least certainly not anything significant. So he definitely had better control there, better unit composition, and better positioning in all that. He kept his. I think maybe his opponent was attempting to focus down the resource harvested far too much. Let's see if I can remember his name. Triumph. And that meant that ChuckWillbury could just pick him off without too much of an issue. Meanwhile over here, not a huge amount has been going on. I think this is Blasta. I think Blasta has kind of missed his opportunity to go and finish off Fleet of Doom? Fleet of Death. And that was definitely a mistake. He certainly could have got the... Oh, that's a terrible view. Fleet of Death appears to only have about one harvester, and not ChuckWillbury. Blasta really could have done a lot of damage to his economy had he moved in. ChuckWillbury isn't out of the woods yet. He's got a good economy going. He's got the resource controller, lots of collectors here. That's going to give him a fair amount of money, but he could get sandwiched by his two opponents right now. He's got attack bombers out himself, which may prove useful against these support frigates. The problem is for Blasta is the support frigates aren't keeping up with his light corvettes. So he needs to get all his forces together pretty soon. Otherwise, I think ChuckWillbury will win another fight. ChuckWillbury is pulling back, not to make sure he doesn't get overstretched. And meanwhile, his ally is just sitting back. His ally actually Fleet of Death hasn't moved his mothership, which is something all the other players have. So we'll see how well that plays out. And we can just see again, ChuckWillbury getting good positions in. The fight opened up against these light corvettes here, and with these scouts of Blasta all the way over here, and the support frigates only just getting into the fight, so that gave ChuckWillbury just a few seconds of superiority, and that seems to be enough to swing it into his favour. He's maybe lost 6 scouts so far, 7, an interceptor goes down, still got the attack bombers flying around. Let's see if we can get an interesting view. Oh, there we go. And let's hope you can hear my voice over the sound of the gunfire. So ChuckWillbury is once again just using that tiny advantage right at the start of the battle just to pick apart his opponent. And well, really, we should start seeing his fleet start to snowball, and his opponents are going to have to go with some new tech in order to counteract this. Multi-gun frigates, Grovpiles, defence field frigates, all those sorts of things could do pretty well, and they should withdraw with these support frigates pretty quickly. Although this could be the end of ChuckWillbury, as this is a fairly scary force. It's not really in any decent formation, and once again it's getting stretched out. So this group's going to hit and get destroyed, and then this group's going to come in. It wouldn't surprise me if all these are dead before these open fire. Yes. See that first group that went in just threw away everything completely. But I wouldn't count what's his name, Triumph out just yet. ChuckWillbury's ships were fairly damaged. Okay, now I would probably suggest he should start withdrawing. I don't know if the support frigates can heal their ally. They might be able to, but even if they can, they're not. So these light corvettes from Triumph aren't going to last much longer. To be fair, they seem to have done quite a bit of damage. All the interceptors are out. It's killed a few attack bombers, down to 16 scouts. That's about half of them dead from what they were. So he did some damage, but nowhere near enough. They really needed to coordinate their attacks there. They allowed ChuckWillbury to defeat them individually, and that's. I mean, this is a 2v2, so they both have time to rebuild. We can see this is Blasta has done the smart thing. He's got defence field frigate out, assault frigates. That's really going to shut down ChuckWillbury's strike craft. His ally is going to take a few more minutes to recover. And I think that's a heavy corvette. Let's see if we can get a bit closer. Yes, that's a heavy corvette. So that's going to be useful if you can get more of them out. And this group isn't as big and scary as it used to be, but it does have those support frigates which are absolutely key, and they can just keep everything in the fight so much longer. And there's this fairly large and scary force back here with assault frigates and attack bombers. So if ChuckWillbury's opponents are going to have any chance, once again they've got to coordinate themselves far better and hope that Fleet of Death continues to sit out the fight. This must be incredibly frustrating for ChuckWillbury. Fleet of Death is barely produced anything. He's still only got one harvester. Yep, still only one harvester and barely anything. But I think ChuckWillbury's won so many of those initial fights that he's got a good chance of holding on. And eventually Fleet of Death will, I hope, sort of swing into action and get something done. But right now ChuckWillbury's got to come up with something to get rid of this, of what's his name again, Blasta, because this can be quite scary. As we've seen, this will deflect 99% of all the incoming fire, and we've just seen how much fire that actually can be in previous games. And up for ChuckWillbury, essentially I think the only thing that can get through, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the only thing that can get through is the torpedoes on the assault frigates. And if he's got any assault bombers, attack bombers even, I think they can get through. But otherwise all the rest of his ships are going to be pretty much useless. Unless he can break this group up. Obviously if these strike craft fly away from the defence field frigate, they're going to be crushed pretty quickly. So let's see how well this goes. No, we can see the plasma torpedoes being deflected there. So yes, this group here is completely vulnerable. Fortunately for ChuckWillbury, he can now pick off these, and then he can still take these out with some kamikaze attack and whatnot. But this is actually going to be quite an even fight, I think. Additional frigates and strike craft coming in for Blasta. Let's see if we can get a decent view. This is from an attack bomber attempting. I don't know what I was going to say. Now for some reason usually we see the sort of defence field frigate sphere when we go into strategic view of the area it's blocking fire from. And it is blocking fire, we can see the circles, but we're not getting the sphere, so we don't know just how big that sphere is. But we can generally see that these frigates are not dying. And fortunately for ChuckWillbury, though, he's got so many support frigates, he's keeping his own strike craft alive in this tiny group in the centre. More reinforcements are going to come in from Blasta. Triumph, I think, sent in reinforcements earlier. I can't believe I just missed that. I believe that was a kamikaze attack against the defence field frigates. And now these assault frigates are going to be in trouble. Reinforcements are arriving for them, including another defence field frigate. So ChuckWillbury has to kill these off pretty quickly. His ally still... Oh, he's sending in 2 assault frigates. That's going to be an immense help, honestly, for ChuckWillbury, as he clings to life fighting off against 2 different opponents. But he's got a good frigate count. This defence field frigate still isn't in position to save these yet. There's no support frigate for whoever it is, Blasta, and now iron cannon frigates are out. So without support frigates, it doesn't matter what, these are going to go down. I think this defence field frigate is out of position as well. It's only guarding this frigate. It doesn't look... Oh no, it is kind of guarding some of the fire that's coming here. Or it was. I think the sphere ends sort of around here. So that's just going to leave these frigates out in the open. So yes, Blasta is sending in yet more frigates. He's just feeding them in. I'm not sure how long he can keep this up yet. Up for. But hopefully long enough for his ally Triumph to rebuild something, anything, and get it into the fight. Meanwhile, ChuckWillbury is absolutely dominating here. Still producing more iron frigates. You can see the fantastic view of this. It should get out these frigates pretty quickly. And once that happens, then it's down to Fleet of Death or Fleet of Doom or whatever it's called to just clear everything up. You can come in like the cavalry and save the day at the end of the film, in theory. Or ChuckWillbury might just destroy both enemy players. Could be either. I mean, really, is he even playing? He's now withdrawing the two frigates. I thought it, was a little bit too dicey for them. What more can I say, really? Once again, defence field frigate, you can see the circles as it blocks most of the fire, but the iron cannon is just going straight through. And the iron cannons probably be better if they focus down the defence field frigate. I think at the moment they're just focusing down the iron cannon frigate here, and there it goes. So it would probably just be quicker to do the defence field frigates first, and then all your other strike craft can get into the fight. But as it stands, there's Blasta. I think he's attempting to go for the mothership. He hasn't done. Why am I not getting the bar at the bottom? Usually I should. Okay, there's a tiny bit of damage to it, but really that's just. I think this is Blasta's last desperate attempt to do anything in this fight. On the other hand, his ally is now going to come in. There's mine-laying corvettes out, which is going to be. They are surprisingly powerful. So actually, if I was Blasta, I would withdraw my frigates away from there, group everything up. He's got a nice force there. It's a nice force here. But again, they're keeping them separated, so they're just going to the deaths. But this is a group of, I believe, heavy corvettes, and that's a decent amount of firepower. We can just see lots of strike craft dying quite rapidly here. But the problem is, the frigates are going to absolutely tear them apart. See, there's only 6 left already. The iron cannon's just shredding through them in a matter of seconds. Alone, repair corvette desperately tries to make it into the fight. Will it heal anything at all? Doesn't look like it. Mine's going to come in. And okay, Fleet of Death has died. That's this guy over here. Okay, so ChuckWillbury is definitely on his own. Which sort of makes this even more impressive if ChuckWillbury wins. I mean, he might, but this is a lot of mines, and mines can be incredibly devastating. He's actually lost quite a few of his sort of fighters and bombers and scouts. He's down to 1 scout, 10 interceptors and 4 bombers. He's still got the huge corvette war for at least the next few seconds. They actually might be slightly outrunning the mines, but they're going to start doing damage here anyway. Unless everything can outrun mines. There we go, we can start seeing some mine hits, and that's doing a fair amount of damage. But who was it? This is Triumph. Didn't have enough mine-laying corvettes. I think if he'd changed all his heavy corvettes and built mine-laying corvettes instead, he might have done a bit better. He's not out the fight yet. His ally still has a significant force here. Still has actually 2 defence field frigates at the back here, and in theory... Oh no, it's too late, they've already blown up. Because you can salvage, if your opponent, if one of the players leaves, you can salvage their ships, but you only have a limited amount of time to do that. So once again, ChuckWillbury caught between two enemy players. Looks like somehow he's catching Blasta off guard here. I mean, this isn't a huge amount of strike craft, it's barely 12. But they can do a bit of damage. Once these two defense field frigates come in though, they're going to be pretty much out of it. But also out of it is Triumph, who's now getting picked off by the frigates there. So what Blasta can do is win this fight here quite easily and then save his ally. And this fight is 5 interceptors and 5 attack bombers really. They've just been thrown away. They're struggling to even get any hits off because the defense field frigates are in the region now. There's one defense field frigate here and another 2 back here, and harvesting operations is still going on. FleetofDeath's dropping out does unfortunately mean that this resource patch is not going to be claimed by FleetofDeath's ally, ChuckWillbury. So that resource patch is definitely going to keep, this is Blasta, definitely going to keep Blasta in the game a bit longer. But Blasta needs to keep his ally in the game longer. Wrong button. See if we can get a bit close to this. So Triumph is trying to stay in the fight as much as possible. He was healing one of his last frigates. Now we can just take a pilot's view of the death of this support frigate. But we can keep the mothership alive for a few extra seconds. And that could be enough to keep him in the game. See, this frigate force is kind of trying to chase down 3 strike craft. Probably shouldn't do that. Probably should start trying to... Well, he could hit this resourcing operation. He might even be able to defeat this because the defense field frigates. And if he does hit here, he may pull these frigates back. And that will keep his ally in the game a bit longer. And I think he's realised that, and he's should now be swinging around. Now at this point I should start to expect to see some destroyers starting to come out. It's getting fairly late in the game, people are still harvesting, and most of the frigate tech is already researched. Or at least all the useful frigate tech. ChuckWillbury could of course go for drone frigates, but those are incredibly rare. He has, however, got salvage corvettes. Well, this is 2 salvage corvettes. No, 1 salvage corvette and 2 repair corvettes. So that could be useful soon, especially if he manages to capture a defense field frigate. Meanwhile, Triumph is not going to stay in this fight for that much longer. He's got an assault frigate out, and and a couple of other light corvettes, 2 salvage corvettes and a repair corvette. But really he needs his ally to save him. These could move over and that'll block out a lot of the firepower from these frigates, not from the iron cannon frigates. And only now is this force moving in to save him. So ChuckWillbury needs to kill this off quickly. But he's being distracted by the salvage corvettes. Now salvage corvettes have no chance of doing this, but they got him a few more seconds. And that's the important thing. Unfortunately these frigates have now stopped moving to save him, it appears. I mean, this group of frigates here could quite possibly win here, but it looks like they're trying to ambush. There we go, it looks like, I've forgotten his name already, was it Triumph? Looks like Triumph's already out. And now it's going to be Blasta versus ChuckWillbury. Blasta's going to ambush and destroy this frigate as he tries to link up with the other group. But now we're going to have some nice frigates on frigate action. ChuckWillbury, he has the 7 iron cannon frigates. that's what's going to be doing the damage here because of the amount of defence field frigates. Neither side though has support frigates, but they both have reinforcements back here, and there's this huge strike craft group coming in. That's going to start doing a lot of damage fairly soon. But I think this is a good position for those two defence field frigates. This sphere is just going to block off so much. No, it isn't. It doesn't appear to be blocking off anything. It's really hard to tell. But it looks like... oh no, no, it's starting to appear. But there's this huge force of repair and salvage corvettes now moving in. 6 repair corvettes, 4 salvage corvettes. And Blasta has to respond to the salvage corvettes very quickly. Again, he can probably shoot them all down, but if he doesn't, he's going to start to lose ships. There's this huge... now this looks scary, but as long as he keeps the defence field frigates in position, and as long as he keeps them alive, they're not going to be doing any damage whatsoever. You can see them firing, and the shots starting to be reflected. However, 2 of the defence field frigates have now been snagged. So there's still 2 more. There's still 2 defence field frigates and iron frigates, and 5 assault frigates versus 4 assault frigates and 6 iron frigates. Although, again, it's all down to positioning of the defence field frigates. Really, if Blasta could position his ships perfectly, he could win this fight, I believe. But he's got to get all his ships into one big group with the defence field frigates in the middle, and then focus down the enemy iron cannon frigates, because that's what's really going to be killing him. Yet more strike craft and frigates coming in from both players, although not for ChuckWillbury. We just had a hyperspace signature, I believe. I can't hear the sound as well as you can, but I think I heard the hyperspace beep. Yes, it's going to come down now. The map is getting very mined out. There's this part here, and there's this part here. But once that's gone, I think the map is pretty much empty. So ChuckWillbury, he's lost 1 iron cannon frigate at least. But I think Blasta's lost a couple more. And it certainly looks like, I think these defence field frigates, yep, that's now going to come in, and that'll play a surprisingly large role, I believe, since a lot of Blasta's firepower is in assault frigates. And of course, 2 more salvage corvettes moving in. There's the 3rd one out there actually. Going to attempt to steal another defence field frigate, and each time he does this, it's just going to be a lot better. However, there's a grav rail generator. Now, grav rail generators work on your own craft as well, but Blasta only has 2 strike craft, 4 strike craft. See, all these others are now completely locked out, so he needs to guard this, especially with the defence field frigate, and use this time to kill off all these. This generator, and it's already down. So I don't know if that paid off for him, but he's hanging in there. It certainly could work. But now we've got a destroyer out. This is a lot later than I expected. This game is going on for a lot longer than I expected, and to be just a bit more confusing, we're not going to be able to tell whose defence field frigate is who unless we put the tactical display on. We can also see, for some reason, proximity sensors all over the place. So that's now incredibly confusing as well. But I think, thanks to these salvage corvettes, I think ChuckWillbury is starting to slowly pull ahead. Although they both have destroyers out. And Blasta did lose his grav rail generator. I really wish he'd kept that alive for a lot longer. What he needs to do is get this destroyer supported by these defence field frigates here. So you can only see the amount of area that's covered by your allied defence field frigates. So we're just going to have to see. I don't give this destroyer very high chances. The problem is always now going to be ChuckWillbury has these support frigates. He can repair a lot of damage very quickly, whereas this destroyer is basically on its own. In terms of repairs, it's already half damaged. I don't think... It doesn't look like these corvettes are doing that much damage due to the defense field frigates, but the iron cannons are just getting straight through. Sometimes the torpedoes are getting through. It's really... I really should do some testing on that. And no, that was enough for ChuckWillbury. He should... I think it's definitely now swung into his favour. Somehow he has managed to hold off 2 separate opponents and very possibly defeat both of them. His ally did not contribute a single thing to the entire game. I don't think his craft fired one shot. It's quite possible, considering how old these games were and how old the internet was back then, that his ally just... his connection messed up horribly. But that doesn't seem to have slowed down ChuckWillbury at all. So I'd like to congratulate ChuckWillbury for absolutely annihilating his opponents in this fairly large game. I would like to commiserate, let's see if we can get the names right, Triumph and Blasta, and hope we see Fleet of Death come in at some point in the future and actually manage to stick around so we can get a proper 2v2. This is more of a 2v1 really, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. It's definitely one of the longer games, one of the more interesting games. We can still see these salvage corvettes stealing whatever they can. So if we go to this tactical display, there's 6 frigates left. 4 Blasta now. So I'm not going to end it just yet, because I still like watching these battles, even though chances of Blasta winning are very low. It's theoretically possible. He has managed to get another destroyer out, and as long as those defense field frigates are out, they're just stopping so much firepower. But honestly, there's too many iron cannons out at the moment for ChuckWillbury. It's a brave and heroic last stand by the forces of Blasta. So yes, if you've liked this game, please subscribe or like or share or do whatever those things are. I hope you've managed to be able to hear me all the way through. I'm still messing around with sound levels, trying to get them perfect. Once I've got that all perfect, I've got a couple of things to try to see if we can get back to HD resolution without the stuttering, which will be absolutely perfect. Then if I can do HD with proper sound, I'll be happy with that. Not a huge amount I can say. Now there's definitely now no way. Is that a weird beeping noise? There's definitely no way now that Blasta can survive this. So I am going to... I'll wait for these last few frigates to be destroyed, which should not take too long. These belong to ChuckWillbury. It's just these 2 frigates now, and then I'll call it a day. So, thank you for watching once again. Actually, I'll just call it a day now. Yes. I hope you've enjoyed it. Oh, I don't want to end it because there's still technically ships fighting. Okay, I'm going to end this soon. You can of course stop watching whenever you like. I do like the explosions. Single assault frigate remaining. All these research ships, not research ships, resource harvesters. I think they're going to try to do one last kamikaze attack. Okay, I'm definitely not quitting it now. I want to see if this works. I think they're aiming for this destroyer. They appear to be trying to harvest the destroyer. Okay, so I believe the destroyer got healed almost as soon as possible. This last harvester. Does that actually do damage? Does anyone know if that is actually doing damage or if it's some sort of bug? Because it's hard to tell with all the support frigates if resource collectors can actually harvest capital ships. You can still do some ramming with these last few ships, but I think that was a valiant effort, but just not enough against the absolute dominance of ChuckWillbury. Okay, so how long is this going to take? On one hand, the mothership has a lot of health. On the other hand, there's a lot of destroyers hitting it. There we go. So, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and goodbye.